Hi, Founder fans, Jason here, and welcome to Friday Night Trivia. I am extremely excited for this week's trivia because, for the first time, I have taken your advice and made up my own questions for trivia. Some of them are a little challenging, some of them a little bit easier. I think everyone should be able to get one or two or three or four or some of the questions. As I'm rolling up my sleeves and people are rolling in here, let's get to it. First of all, thank you all for coming. Second of all, I do have some exciting news. We are going to play for, I actually had two of these. So again, once again, we are playing for a magnet, a Liberty & Co. Proclaim Liberty 1776 magnet. Misfit, I see you showing up. I never received your information to send you your prize from last week. I believe John deferred to you. Troy, hello. I got some information for you as well. Thank you all so much for coming. We are about to play. I do want to have an exciting announcement. I've been giving away Liberty & Co. stuff because I really love Liberty & Co. And you might see my shirt so because I'm wearing a Liberty & Co. Law Firm of John Adams shirt. And I'm very excited to announce that I've talked to Tyson over at Liberty & Co. who has agreed to start sponsoring these trivia nights. And because of that, it's in the mail, hasn't arrived yet. I just talked to him a few days ago, but he is sending over a bunch of merchandise to give away for these events. Now, this arrangement is so recent, I haven't gotten his logo to put up yet or anything of that nature, but I assure you, in the future, you will see Liberty & Co. around, and I'm super excited because they are my favorite purveyor of American Revolution wares. Like, I've had this shirt for like 2.5 years. It's super comfortable. I throw it in the wash, throw it in the laundry, and it never loses, fades is the word I'm looking for, anything like that. Now, I'm not going to spend all day promoting them, but I do want to say thank you so much. Misfit, if you send me an email, the problem is I recently changed my domain hosting from one server to another. I did not realize I had half changed and my email did not work. So you would have sent it on Friday night when it was canceled at contacted Founder of the Day. I did not realize it went down that day. But if you want to resend it to Jason at Founder of the Day, which is my new handle, send it there. I do apologize for that inconvenience. I trust me, it took me 2 or 3 days to realize I didn't have email access, and that is my fault, but I am not an internet expert. I studied the American Revolution, so I apologize tremendously. I will get into the mail ASAP, but it's Jason at Founder of the Day now, Jason at founderoftheday.com instead. People rolling in here, people don't want to hear me talk about my email address. People want to play trivia. And like I said, I have come up with my very own questions. So, if you're ready, before we get started, a little bit different this week. I'm not just going to have everyone send it in because it's online. We're going to try something new. It's going to be first come, first serve. So the first person to get me the right answer will get credit for the points. There are several questions that have more than one right answer, and therefore some questions will have more than one person get points. Don't worry. And a little bit later on, there are several right answers, so there's plenty of time for everyone to get in. And again, Misfit, I apologize. I knew that's what happened. I assumed you emailed me, and I'm very apologetic. I was a little bit embarrassed. I'm just happy the website itself didn't go down, which is something I could have had happen. Either way, let's get with it. Question number 1. This one's a little bit of a pop culture-y one. In the TV show The West Wing, President Josiah Bartlett is named after a signer of the Declaration of Independence. What state did the original Josiah Bartlett come from? Josiah Bartlett. And I will give you some seconds to answer. I did change my latency this week, which means my image quality might not be as good as it usually is, but we are interacting almost in real time as opposed to the 10 to 15 second delay we had been operating on in the past. I'm also using a new program, which is why it says Founder of the Day up here and not down here. If it works out better, this is actually a lot more user-friendly. People call it the baby version. But if it's working, again, what state did Josiah Bartlett, signer of the Declaration of Independence, come from? And I threw in the West Wing there because it's fun, little trivia bit. And if you've seen that show, you might know. Matt, welcome, Matt. Throwing out with Virginia. Haven't gotten the right answer yet. Keep them coming. I'm going to let it wind down a little bit. You know, there's only so much time. Let's give it 10, 15 more seconds. If I don't hear a right answer come in, we'll move on. Because I wrote 12 questions, because we had been doing 12 questions, and that seemed to work out pretty nicely. Again, Matt, you can guess again. There are only technically 13 correct options. I'm hoping to put in some theme music to keep you guys trudging along. Misfit, coming at it with New Hampshire. There it is. Let's bring up the big board, and let's see if I've done this right on my new program. There it is, a nice big blank trivia screen. There is, I am going to Misfit. Here we go. 1 point. There you are. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. Back here, again, new program, going slow. Good guesses, guys. Good guesses. Josiah Bartlett is a tough one. That's why I threw in the West Wing, because if you watch that show, you may remember. So here we go, and now I got to remember where I put my questions. There we go. A new setup, but I think this setup's going to be the best once I get the hang of it. I promise. Let's continue. Thank you for guessing, guys. Next question. Which American founder became famous in the colonies for a publication known as A Summary View of the Rights of British America? An American founder who wrote a pamphlet titled A Summary View of the Rights of British America. Technically, this pamphlet was actually not a pamphlet. It was supposed to be instructions to delegates who were attending the Continental Congress. But some of this person's friends said, hey, let's publish this. And it was wildly successful. And this person, whose name you're going to type in, ended up becoming a very, very well-known American founder. And while I'm at it, let me know how the sound is, because I can't hear it. And I know I'm always asking you how the sound is, but I'm using a new program, and I hope it sounds the same, if not better. Yada, yada, yada. And while I'm waiting for you guys to guess who wrote A Summary View of the Rights of British America, I am going to pop this up, because Troy, we discussed last week, I said there was a book I wanted to tell you about, and everyone about. It's actually a Pulitzer Prize winner. I didn't realize that. It's called The Creation of the Media, Political Origins of Modern Communications. And it goes way far back into the early days, but it's very interesting, and you might, again, The Creation of the Media, you might enjoy it. I might be further ahead with my latency than I thought, because I don't see any guesses coming in here. I'm going to count down, and if I don't see anything pop up now, again, perhaps I'm much further ahead. I could probably check. But again, who wrote A Summary View of the Rights of British America? 8:41. Oof. I might be like 30 seconds ahead. Whoopsie daisy. Well, okay. Well, I am going to say it, and we'll see whoever types it in first will get it right. Because the answer, who wrote A Summary View of the Rights of British America, was a young Thomas Jefferson, published in 1774. You're welcome, Troy, anytime. So I know you guys are watching. You're just not answering this question. Thomas Jefferson wrote A Summary View of the Rights of British America. Actually, he wrote it as instructions from Virginia to the Virginia delegates at the Continental Congress. But it was a little too radical for the people at the time. So Jefferson expanded on it. Yes, Matt, with TJ, I will give you credit, even though you probably heard me say it. That's okay. And Jefferson wrote A Summary View, and it was fairly radical for the time. And because of that, once things in the Continental Congress got a little more radical, that's why Jefferson was elected to go as a delegate himself to the Continental Congress. And it's how other founders knew Jefferson was a good writer. He was kind of obscure. You know, certain people like no credit, Matt. Okay, fair. You're playing fair. I like it. Jefferson was kind of obscure. He was a young man at this point, 30 years old. Made a little bit of a name for himself in politics in Virginia, but nowhere else. And you know, some review goes out and people read it and really seem to like it. And this is 2 years before Thomas Paine makes a name for himself with Common Sense. Common Sense. You'd think I'd remember that. Anyway, since Matt is being a gentleman with his answers, we'll move on to the next question. Now, most historians consider that there were 4 major founding documents in the history of the United States of America. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Continental Association after the First Continental Congress, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the United States Constitution. Who is the only person to sign all 4 of those documents? Again, who is the only American founder to sign all 4 of the major documents, including, at the end of the First Continental Congress, the Articles of Association, usually called the Continental Association, which is often overlooked when we talk about major American documents from the American founding. I will give you a hint. This particular founder has a very particular place in my heart. One of my prized possessions is an autograph of his. It is a man. Matt with James Wilson. Great guess. Incorrect. Great guess. The wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Keep James Wilson in the back of your mind. You guys throw out another guess or two. This is the same person. Here's another hint. 20 years before the American Revolution, he wrote a pamphlet called A Caveat Against Injustice, an inquiry into the evils of a fluctuating medium of exchange, which I loved the title of that. Lawrence Troy with another great guess. No, I'm sorry. You guys throw out 1 or 2 more guesses, and then I'll give you the right answer, because I really want you to have it. He's one of my personal favorites. On my list last week, he's one of the top 10 most influential founders that I put out, if you skim through all those names. He was from Connecticut. He was a little bit older than most people. He was one of the major people responsible. Misfit coming through with Roger Sherman. Yes, it is Roger Sherman. Misfit is crushing it tonight. Roger Sherman is one of the people one of the main people responsible for the Great Compromise, also known as the Connecticut Compromise, that brought the United States Constitution together and gave us a House of Representatives based on population and a Senate based on equal representation. So we're going to pop back over here to my internet scene, as I've called it. Oh, I don't know if you're supposed to know that's the inside lingo, inside baseball. Misfit with 2 points. Excuse me. You know what? And Matt, you said TJ before. I'm giving it to you. It really bothers me. I said you could have it. Isn't he a football player? No, you're thinking of Richard Sherman, who is an excellent defensive player on several American football teams. I believe. Cool. Oh, interesting. So the comments are popping up on the screen. Let me know if you guys like that or not. That is, again, this new program does that. Well, let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Okay. Now, I couldn't figure out how to word this one right, so I'll say it a few different ways. Who was the first commander-in-chief of the Patriot Army? Now, I wanted to say the Continental Army, but this person was not technically commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. When the Continental Army was created, this person was the highest-ranking major general in the Continental Army, at least for the year and a half or so that he stayed in the Continental Army before he retired for sickness. He would later go on to be in the Continental Congress, and I believe an inaugural member of the U.S. House of Representatives. I believe it was the House. When the Minutemen responded to the Lexington alarm after Lexington had conquered, this person was one of the top major generals in the Massachusetts militia, and Matt coming through with Artemus Ward. Troy, Putnam is a great guess. Putnam was one of the highest ranking major generals, but when the militia came together after Lexington had conquered, they called themselves several things, but most commonly was the Army of the Observation, because they were just watching the British in Boston until George Washington showed up, and that's when Artemus Ward, who arguably was the first major general, first commander-in-chief of the Patriot Army, handed over the keys of the army to George Washington. So, Matt, come through. Maybe I shouldn't have given you that hint. that extra one before. Let's see, pop that over. Oopsie daisy. Okay. I'll get the hang of it. I'll get a better system. But Matt's catching up. That's all right. Don't worry, guys. There are going to be lots of opportunities for everyone to catch up. So, let's go back to the next question. Great job, guys. Great guesses. I hope you think this is fun. You may notice I focused on a lot of names of founders because that's what I do with this founder of the day. Now, this one's a fun one. There's probably no way you'll know this, but before I discuss the 4 major founding documents, including the Continental Association, the Articles of Confederation, Constitution, and Declaration, between those 4 arguments, a whole bunch of people signed those documents. Thank you for letting me know, Troy. What was the most common first name of American founders who signed those 4 major documents? Just the first name. What is the most common first name of signers of those documents? And I'll tell you what. So I have the first one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have the most common name, and then I have 5 other names. So I'll give 2 points if you get the most common name, and I'll give you 1 point if you get any of the other names. And Matt coming through with John. Do we have any other answers? Throw them out now. Because I will say, Matt is right with John. Ned coming through. Oh, you got it. But as I said before, we're doing first come, first serve tonight. And I know that's probably not fair because the stream probably comes through to people at different rates. But that's just the way we're going about it. We're testing it out. Let me know if you like it. We'll go back next week because I'm going to make up questions for every week. And Ned, thank you so much for being the person who recommended I make up my own questions because I had a good amount of fun doing that this week. But yes, it is John. I'm going to pop over and add that point on there for Mr. Matt. You get it. Don't worry, Matt. I'm sorry, Ned. Don't worry, Ned. We have plenty of opportunities for you to come through and do a little catching up because there are going to be more with more questions. Well, like I said, also, nope, you know what? We're going to go back here. Matt, I did say it would be 2 points to get the first one, but if you guys could give me another first name, and I know how to do 2 plus 2. I got it. But if you guys have another name, throw it out now before I move on to the next question, because as I said, I have several names here. John, there were 22 different people named John who signed one of the 4 major documents. Misfit coming through with Thomas. Yes, there were 12 people named Thomas. I will give you 1 point. As I said, 1 point for these names. I have 4 other names here. If you could pop one out. They are all very common male first names, unsurprisingly. Misfit, I'm going to give you that one for Thomas real quick. Got to remember to bring it up here. Nope. I'll get the hang of it. Don't worry. Misfit, getting 1. All right. And if that's that, we're moving on. Samuel, give the point to Ned. I will not give that point to Ned because Samuel is not one of those names. There were only like 3 or 4 people named Samuel. I was a little bit surprised. John, there were 22 men named John, 15 named William, 12 named Thomas, 8 Richards, 7 Jameses, and 7 Georges. I was a little surprised by Richard. I'm not entirely sure why, but I was. I was a little surprised John too. I guess it just struck me. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's move on. Question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Getting halfway there. Oh man, I'm sorry, Troy. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm trying. I slowed down my latency. I can slow it down more next time to try to keep us even more regular, but I don't want to affect the image too poorly. Anyway, next question. What do historians call the Continental Congress after the ratification of the Articles of Confederation? So what I mean by this question is, after the Articles of Confederation were ratified in 1781, what do we call the Continental Congress after it became blah, blah, blah? Now, I will say that the people who attended the Continental Congress called it the Continental Congress all the way through until after the ratification of the Constitution, when it became the United States in Congress assembled. But between 1781 and 1789, to differentiate between the revolutionary states without a government and the revolutionary states with a government, historians call it one of two names. So what did the Continental Congress change its name to after ratifying the Articles of Confederation? I'm going to give you another second. Let it go. Give it a shot. I will say we're talking about the Continental Congress and the Articles of Confederation. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. I will also say I always say it wrong in my videos, especially the live ones. So if you remember me getting twist-tongued, that is usually why. Maybe this is a tough question, or maybe it's too easy and you guys think it's harder than it is, or maybe not. I'm not sure. Either way, if you guys say anything, again, Liberty & Co. Sponsored by Liberty & Co. One of my favorite purveyors of American Revolution merchandise. Matt, coming through with the Confederation Congress. Yes, sir, you got it. I knew you'd get it. Confederation Congress. Here we go. Let's bring you up. Also would have accepted Congress of the Confederation. Those are both things historians call it, though technically not what they called it. All right, let's move on to a more fun question. And I am a little bit curious. Nice hints. Thanks. Did I give it away too much? I'm trying here. I'm trying to be everyone's friend. All right. Halfway there, moving along pretty smoothly this time. If this goes too quick, then, maybe next week I'll make up more questions. Although, part of me was coming up with questions, and I was like, I don't want to waste them. I want questions for next time. It was too, yeah, it seems harder. I know, it was tricky. I didn't like it when I wrote it, but I'm like, we'll do it. How bad could it be? Okay, this is for people who have been paying attention to what I do recently. I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw some questions in there to, see if they've been reading. Although, you could have also watched the live video on Wednesday, and you will probably know this answer if you remember it. So, who was the second Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America? This person took over for Alexander Hamilton as the second Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. Not Treasurer of the United States, as we discussed last in the live video, and as I want to say for some reason, but no. The first Secretary of the Treasury. Now, they did want to be the first Comptroller of the United States, but that was taken by another gentleman, Nicholas Eveley. So this person ended up being the first Auditor of the Treasury Department of the United States, and the second Comptroller of the Treasury Department of the United States, and second Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. And now the pressure's on, because I'm testing you if you're paying attention to me, which is very self-serving, and I understand that. But I'm sure it's making you a little bit nervous to say the wrong thing. Please, by all means, say the wrong thing. We're all having fun here. I'm going to take a little sip of water while you guys get the answer right. I know you're going to. Again, it's better to guess wrong than to not guess at all. Oh, I'm going to spill a little water on my very nice Law Firm of John Adams shirt from Liberty & Co. Thank you, Tyson. I'm very excited to see the box he's sending with the giveaway items. He sent me a whole box of stuff to give away to you guys for playing trivia. And I'm pumped to see it. Make sure you follow, check out my Patreon page where I will post that as soon as it comes. Specific shout out to Matthew. Thank you for being a Patriot and for coming to play trivia and being an important supporter of this channel. Misfit, probably going to the website to check it out, but you know what? I'll give it to you. Misfit coming through with Oliver Wolcott. Oliver Wolcott Sr. or Jr.? I'm going to give it to you. We're going to pop it up. I will say it's Oliver Wolcott Jr. Oliver Wolcott Sr., of course, was his father who signed the Declaration of, you guessed it, Independence. So we are going to go with Misfit, getting one more. Coming back. Oh, Tarot, welcome back. He was one of my founders this week. That's what I was saying. I'm being a little sneaky. Thank you for paying attention. And if you just jumped in, I apologize. We are doing something new this week where it's first person to guess it right gets the answer. We can go back next week if you prefer. So let me know if you'd prefer that. But as I said, there's going to be a few questions at the end with a bunch of answers, so you can just rattle off names, and it's going to be kind of a free-for-all, but it's always good to get ahead now. So following up on the Secretary of the Treasury, we're going to go with our next question, and this is, I'm not going to give the hint before I ask the question. Who was Secretary of Treasury for Thomas Jefferson throughout his entire administration? Who was Thomas Jefferson's Secretary of Treasury? Now, I will say, he didn't immediately follow Oliver Wolcott Jr. There was someone else in there for like a month and a half at the end of the Adams administration, whose name eludes me. But this person, whose name I almost just said on accident because I looked at it, was the 4th Secretary of Treasury of the United States. If you've been watching, I have been reading a book on this person for a while now and kind of talking about them and referencing them a lot over the last month or so, even though it's a very difficult book to get through, because it's talking a lot about economics, and an economist I am not, but that's why I'm reading it, because I want to learn. And Matt coming through with Albert Gallatin. Yes. Probably a little bit of a biased question to my Patriots who support me on Patreon, because I've been kind of going over that book over there. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, definitely, like I said, check out my Patreon page. I'm trying to put out a lot of good information over there. And, oh, newsflash, I haven't actually put it up yet. I've been meaning to. Oh, I forgot to do this. Matt, I just added your point. I just forgot to show everyone. I'm sorry, because I'm talking. Tarot. Oh, you must be like lagging just a little bit behind Matt. That's all right. That's all right. Because if that becomes a problem, the next week we'll just go back to the way we used to do it, where we would, whoever answers it and gets it right. I'm also, as I said, I'm using a new program to stream on the interweb this time. So I'm not sure how the lag is compared to what it was last time. I think I turned down the latency so it was less lag, but I think it might actually be a little bit slower, but I can turn it down even further next time. We'll figure it out. Okay, 4 questions left. And I realized as I was writing these, I was writing a lot about like founders and the politicians, but I wasn't writing nearly enough about the war. So I threw in a question about a battle here. This is from an article I wrote a while ago. I reference it sometimes, but what was the first battle to take place in the Revolutionary War after the victory at Yorktown? So the Americans fight at Yorktown with Cornwallis, and they beat them, and they win the war, right? Well, there was still a year, about 2.5 years of sending treaties to and from across the ocean till the war actually ended, and there were skirmishes afterward, including when John Lawrence famously died in a skirmish like a year after Yorktown. But there was a battle shortly after Yorktown, literally days after Yorktown. And at this battle, the British and Americans were fighting, and then word arrived that Yorktown had happened, and they just kind of like stopped. Like the word spread through the army, and they slowly kind of stopped. So I'll give you another one last hint, that it was in upstate New York, not far from where this guy lives. Again, being very selfish. Tarot, I always lag. That's why I don't watch often these days. Watch live these days. I'm sorry to hear that, Tarot. Troy said was having this similar problem. I hope it's not me. My computer is pretty good for shooting videos of this nature, going live, although I've learned I should upgrade my graphics card. Though it seems to go through YouTube pretty fine. Again, I'm trying to figure it out. I am not a computer whiz, never really have been. Worked in IT for a while, but that was in sales. Let's see. I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1. This question is probably harder than it should be. That's why I don't want to ask too many questions about the war, because it's hard to ask about particular battles. But in a battle led by, I believe, Brigadier General Marinus Willett, was the Battle of Johnstown. Battle of Johnstown, upstate New York, started a few hours after the Battle of Yorktown in Virginia ended, but word traveled so slowly that it didn't get there until the battle was going on, and literally both sides found out about the same time and kind of just was like, okay, I guess we're done here? Okay. Tough question. Anyway, we'll move on. No points are awarded. So, here's a really self-serving question, although you could probably guess pretty easily. About a week ago, I put out a list of my top 100 most important American founders. Put a lot of work into it, and I know you liked it. Here's my question. Who do I consider, for the third year in a row, the most important American founder? I mean, it's pretty obvious. There are definitely a lot of names you can throw out there. Let's see what you got. Anyone? There must be a little bit of lag. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to figure out ways to keep things going. Oh, Ned! Ned sneaking in just before Matthew. Good job, Ned. Thank you. I don't know if you read it or not. It's a pretty easy guess. But yes, the first American. First citizen. Number 2 is Benjamin Franklin, in my opinion, who was the first American. George Washington, of course, was the first citizen. And Ned, whammy, making it to the big board. I made it really big. And Ned, like I said, dude, we are not done out. You read it, Jay? Yeah. Well, thank you, Ned. Thank you. I believe it or not, even though I had done it last year, it took kind of a while to update. Things change. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I do so much research that, like, my opinion changes on people because, like, you know, like, for example, Tench Coates jumped way up this year because I read so much about his involvement in creating the Treasury Department, for one example. John Jay moved up the list a little bit. I mean, he was, like, number, like, 9, I think. No, or was it John? I don't even remember. But there was some shuffling. Robert Morris fell down 2 spots, if I'm not mistaken. Because John Jay and John Dickinson, they mean a lot to me this year. Where did my questions go? Here we are. You looked at number 1 first. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I actually put number 1 first because I knew people would just want to see it. Yeah. Anyway, okay, here we go. Now, there are 2 questions left. And these questions have a ton of answers. So, for this one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 answers. So, put in as many as you can. Do them all at once. Do them one at a time to sneak them in. That's fine. I'm basically going to ask and then pull up the big board and try and keep track as we go. But, name as many signers. Wait. Let me say this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 people who signed both the Declaration of Independence and United States Constitution. Name as many as you can. Who signed both the Declaration and the Constitution? They can also have signed other documents. The other documents don't matter either way. If they didn't sign them, if they did sign them, for this question, I don't care. Usually I do care, but right now, whether or not they signed the Articles of Confederation or the Continental Association, I don't care. Matt coming in with Adams. I'm sorry, I don't know if you are John or Sam Adams, but it doesn't matter. No, Adams and Jefferson were both in Europe when the United States Constitution was signed and ratified. They missed the whole thing. Matt, James Wilson. Yeah, I told you to keep him in mind. Told you to keep him in mind. You did a very good job. I'm going to pull this up while I see the people coming in. While the list them off. That's only 1. There's 5 more, guys. Plenty of time. Where was it? Okay, plenty of time. Matt got Wilson. That's 7. There's a lot of answers. Misfit, Ned, you can catch up. Tara, you can catch up now too. Troy, if you're still here, you can catch up real quick. Because Matt's slowed down a lot. Misfit coming out with the George Clymer. Yes, George Clymer was a signer of both of those. Misfit going up to 5. Matt, Frailty is that a name or is that like your ego? I'm not sure where you're going with that. Oh, Franklin. That is definitely a person's name. Yes, we have Ben Franklin did sign both, as did Roger Sherman. Okay, so wait, Matt, you got one more with Franklin. We have Troy coming in with Sherman. Finally made it on the big board, Troy. And yes, Roger Sherman, like we said before, signed all of them. Oh, Tarrant coming in with Robert Morris. Yes, he did. Even though he didn't vote for independence, he conceded that, quote, he should, quote, know when to follow when he cannot lead. Wait, no. Quote, follow when I cannot lead. End quote. Got it. Nailed it. Tarrant. Got it. Let's see. Who else is here? And Misfit coming in with George Reed. Yep. That is 6. That was 5 to 6. Okay. Coming back. All right. And that is all 6 names. You guys did it. You guys did it. Started off a little rocky there, Matt. But we caught up. Sorry, Misfit. Matt got Wilson earlier. But yes, absolutely James Wilson. Where were we? Okay. That's great. Now, I actually might have to pull up another thing for this one because we're on our last question. And I published an article this week about one of a student of an important American founder. And this important American founder had dozens of students who are also included as American founders. So, there are a lot of correct answers for this one. Some of them super obscure and very hard. There are really 4 notable names that I hope I can pull out of you during this conversation. Although, like I said, there are dozens of people who qualify. But there was an American founder named George Wythe from Virginia, and George Wythe signed the Declaration of Independence. He also attended the Constitutional Convention, though he left without signing to go take care of an ailing spouse. Name George Wythe was perhaps the most important law professor at the College of William and Mary during the American founding. Can you name as many students of George Wythe as you possibly can? Matt knew where I was going with it. Matt already got one. He wants it. He wants it this week. He wants this beautiful magnet. Yes, Thomas Jefferson is one of several students, and you guys can keep answering. There's a whole lot of points getting given out for Mr. George Wythe. Matt saying Madison. And I have to, so I think you're wrong, but I have to give you credit because there's no other way to explain it. President James Madison had a cousin named James Madison, and the cousin of the president happened to be president of the College of William and Mary. So there were 2 James Madisons. One was president of the United States, and one was president of the College of William and Mary. And the one who was president of the College of William and Mary, yes, was, in fact, a student of George Wythe. And Matt with Henry Clay. So I am going to give you credit for that. Okay. Well, you're just rattling them off. I can't keep up. I'm gonna pop up here. Okay, so Matt's kind of running away with it. He got 3 more, so that's 11. Oof, it's Matt's day. Looks like it's Matt's day. Again, there's at least one more extraordinarily important American founder who was a student of George Wythe. Let's see, pulling it up here. Man knowledge. Well, good. Yeah, hopefully we're learning together. That's what I like about this. You guys can go ahead and name. I'll give you a hint. One of them was a president of the United States. Not like there was a second one who was a president. He taught 2 presidents of the United States. Matt, no, not Morris. Again, he was teaching in Virginia, if that's helpful. Also, one of these people would be a Chief Justice of the United States. at the same time, overlapping with 2 of his students being presidents of the United States. Again, really good. Misfit. Not even gonna guess. Not even gonna guess. Troy coming in. That's right. James Monroe was a young law student. Oh, whoops, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Was a young law student of. I know these aren't easy, but George Wythe. When I was writing these questions, I was like, okay, like, how can I like help everyone learn about it? And like, George Wythe is an extraordinarily important person in the American founding, even though he just kind of seems like one of the names on the Declaration of Independence. He was so much more than that. And it's because he was one of those educators of founders. Like, he was the founding father's founding father. And Tarrant, yes, coming in with John Marshall. Well, you're coming in a little bit late, Lauren. And while I love to have you here, I made up my own questions this week. It went a little bit faster than last time. But, yes, and everyone's saying John Marshall. Sorry, guys. This week we did a little different, where first come, first serve with the answers to the questions. I got hair in my face, and it's really going to bother me. It's in my... Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I'll just have to... And now it's in my eye, and everyone's watching me. Oh, no. This is when I start crying and run away. So I suppose we'll bring it in here because, as I was saying before something got in my eye, the list of people who George Wythe educated is extraordinary. So, just real quick, unless there's any last minute guesses, but the big 4, because you can't even spell the guy's name, Wythe, W-Y-T-H-E, George Wythe, an amazingly high-ranking founder on my list. Although probably could have been higher. But just to run through real quick some of these names. Like we said, Thomas Jefferson, John Marshall, James Monroe, and Henry Clay are the biggest names. But also Bushrod Washington, who was a nephew of George Washington, also served on the Supreme Court with John Marshall for like 30 plus years. The only other member of the Washington family to really hold an important office in the history of the United States. A gentleman named George St. Tucker, whose name we don't really know, but he kind of took over as the next leading educator of law students for the second generation of American leaders. William Branch Giles is a guy I wrote an article about a few weeks ago. Ludwell Lee, a member of the Lee family, some of the Carroll family, some of the Breckinridge family, Edmund Randolph, several other Randolphs, Thomas Lee Shippen, a member of the Shippen family, William Short, who, and I'm going to pull myself up here, William Short is an amazing, he was another disciple of Jefferson. Like Thomas Jefferson, by the time he was president, had like the Democratic Party, and Monroe and Madison were both kind of disciples of Jefferson by that point, even though they had, well, one of them had studied under Wythe. William Short was also like Jefferson's number 2 and was with Jefferson as his secretary throughout the time in Europe. And then when Jefferson came back, William Short took over as like ambassador to France for a good amount of time and was extraordinarily important to the American founding from the perspective of Europe, especially after Washington took over as president. And there's dozens of names here I could go on about, although they're all most of the rest of them are fairly random and obscure. Ned, down here in Virginia, we've always pronounced it as with, in case it matters. It does certainly matter. And down there where he's from, you probably pronounce it right. And up here, where I just read the names in books, I probably pronounce it wrong. But I'll be honest, I've been calling him with for like 25 years. So I don't know if I'll be able to change, but I will try and call him with. The other problem is I can't really read the, like, at the beginning where it says, like, the pronunciation of names. I don't know how that works. So I do apologize to any George Wythe fans out there. He is number 1. So we are going to pop it up here one more time. And while it was a great effort on everyone's part, and Misfit, you did really good this week. Mr. Matt, you take it home. You took it home this week. So this is our Matthew is our first repeat victor You had won several weeks ago already. This is the 5th week. I can't believe it, but it's a lot of fun. So, congratulations. I think I still have your mailing address. So I'll send you another magnet. And like I said, Tarot, yes, you could literally have just rattled off last names of Virginians and probably would have gotten several White. Again, emphasizing how important George Wythe really was. And that's why I wrote this question last, is because I thought it would be a nice way to end and do a little bit of learning with our guesswork today. Thank you guys so much for playing. Again, thanks to Liberty & Co. Misfit, good. Thank you for sending me that other email. I apologize. I should have put a link down below for Liberty & Co. I don't think I did. But next week we're going to get real official because, like I said, he's sending me over a box. I had just been sending out stuff I have from the company because I really love this company and I have too much of this stuff. So now I'll have even more too much to send out for trivia and other such events. So thank you guys so much. I tried to win for Troy since he was lagging. Well, you know, Troy usually has a good showing. Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you, Troy. And Troy, once again, The Creation of the Media, I think was the book I was referencing last week, although I have a bunch of books on the same topic. But that's the one I'm pretty sure, if I remember our chat correctly. You should have let me run down and grab it. Because, you know, today I was like, I know he wanted a book. What book was it I wanted to show him? Something about the media. I think it's this one. It's Pulitzer Prize winner. It's good. It is a little wordy. It's one of the, it's one of those ones that, at least for me, I had to take my time getting through. To be honest, I put it down a few times, picked it back up because I'm a lazy student like that. And if I'm struggling through a book, I need to move away for a little bit and come back. But yeah, congratulations, Matt. Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for playing. Misfit, Matt, Ned, Tarot, Troy. Anyone else who's watching whose name eludes me. Anyone who came last week and isn't here right now. I'm having fun with this. Definitely leave me a comment. Let me know if you like the first come first serve, or should we just do it where like whoever says it right, and then I put it up. We can go back to that again. Troy said he really liked that the comments are coming up on the screen. If you guys feel the same way, let me know. Hit like. Matthew, thank you for reminding me. You hit like so you don't miss out. Definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content I put out on this channel. Thank you very much, Matt, for this and for supporting me in general. So, again, like I said, next week I will be back with like an actual Liberty & Co. link. I just talked to him like 2 days ago, and we're just putting it together. But yeah, Ned, multiple choice questions. Okay, that's a good probably starter because yeah, some of these questions were a little difficult, apparently. I don't know. When I'm writing them, I didn't know. Were these too hard? Although, to be fair, like, we got 11 plus 6, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22 right answers out of a 12-question quiz. So, like, yeah, we must have hit a nice little middle ground in there. I thought about doing true-false, too, but that's literally going to be like a whoever can type it first, and it comes through on different people's computers at a different speed. I'm going to do a little bit more research this weekend on exactly how I should be doing online trivia. I know I should have done that in the past probably, but I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to go. First come, first served. Comments off the screen. Okay. Interesting. So we have conflicting about the comments. Study hard here. Okay. You know what? If there's a... Yeah, Matt, you did throw out a bunch of guesses, and it worked out. That's all right. There's no wrong... Well, hold on. There are definitely wrong answers, but there's no punishment for getting it wrong. If you guys would prefer I have, like, a particular topic I ask you about, you can let me know about that, too. Again, you can leave it here or in the regular comments on the chat or, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Founder of the Day. Also, I did this I tried out Twitch last week. It's not the best, but this weekend I'm going to do it on on YouTube, on Sunday at noon. So just before football, I'm going to play a game. And I know this might not sound like fun to watch people play why are kids watching people play video games? There's this really fun game I found called 1775 Rebellion, and it's kind of like Risk. It's used to be a tabletop game, but they put it on computer. And I'm going to do like an introductory course on it, because if you guys are interested in it, you could later challenge me to the game. And I might do it if people like it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Revolution. I could try and use it to spurn conversation about the Revolution. So, like I said, I'm going to be going live right here, same founder time, same founder channel, at noon on Sunday. And that's noon Eastern time, of course. Hopefully we get done right about time for football, for those of you interested in watching football. Yes, Troy, noon Eastern time. I live on the Eastern Coast, and that is where that's how I do it. An hour before football. That helps. You were the one referencing Richard Sherman earlier today, so I assume you know when football starts. If anyone watching knows when football starts, it's you, Troy. Cool. So I guess we'll call it there. Again, I'm using a new program, so I'm not entirely sure how to end the stream appropriately. Also, I end the Wednesday live streams with Round Bottom, but I feel like Trivia Night should have its own little bit of ending. So, if you guys are feeling clever, shoot me some ideas. You know, students of wife. No, I can't. All right, guys, I'm gonna go. Thank you a million times for watching and all your support. And everything else in the whole wide world. I will be back, like I said, tomorrow's Saturday. I'm taking a day off. Oh, I should very quickly apologize. Yesterday, I didn't put out a video yesterday. I suffer from migraines every once in a while, and I know it makes me sound like a crybaby tissue boy, but they are tough, and I'd rather be punched in the head for 8 hours than suffer through a migraine for 8 hours. So I apologize for missing some content yesterday, but we'll be back. No problem, Lauren. You come back next week. All of you come back next week. And like I said, I'm going to be playing this game on Sunday afternoon. So if you're hanging around, come check it out. It's a lot of fun. And maybe you can challenge me and you can beat me, because I'll be playing on the internet and you can see my moves and really take advantage of that. So anyway, thank you guys. And I'll be back as soon as I can